Alright, that's Monday, December 29th, 2025, I'll call the Chickasaw County Board of Supervisors meeting to convene. Roll call, all members are present, along with Board Secretary Donnie Kurtz. Work cancellation, we'll have to reschedule, is the 9/10 Big Four Fair Board of Directors. I've requested to reschedule that, so we'll be taking care of that today. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented by the county cancellation? Second by Travis. Motion by Scott, second by Travis to approve today's agenda with that rescheduling of the 9/10 Big Four Fair. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. In the board packet, there was some minutes from the 22nd of December. Is there any discussion or is there a motion to approve the minutes from last Monday?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Travis, second by Steve to approve the minutes from last Monday, the 22nd. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. EMS Director Joe Knudsen cannot make it either today, but I visited with him last Thursday. Remember, we extended the Conrad Rosendahl MEI until the end of January 31st. Joe was wondering if we should advertise to bring on that fifth one. Kevin Gertz is back to full schedule every fourth week right now. Joe said to me that he thought Conrad was done this month, but it wasn't. We looked back, 9 months would be the end of January 31st. There is a copy in your board packet of the posting when we, I think, hired India in May at that time. Totally up to this board if you guys think we need 5, but we do have 4 available. He did ask them all if they wanted to stay on, and they all do. It's up to you guys if we want 5. If we do, we need to advertise. The only change in that posting, when you scanned, oh, here it is. So the only thing that Joe would like to change if we do go out for posting is complete the certification with the State of Iowa Medical Examiner Office within 2 years. We're gonna take away the St. Louis University School because the State of Iowa will do that training. So replace St. Louis University with State of Iowa Medical Examiner's Office. I was talking to, I don't know if it needs to be put out in the paper, maybe the county website or the bulletin board would be just fine. We got to post it for 10 days. Any thoughts?
Joel's recommendation to have 5.
It is, because like you said, he's already certified, he's already trained. Would not cost anything else. But we can't hire him until we have it posted. You guys all know that.
Do we really need 5 though?
That's a
Is
board
it gonna
decision.
cost any more? No.
I would be in favor. I mean, I know sometimes it just, not everybody's always available. And the faster, when in need, the faster you can get somebody that's better.
So what they do, I mean, good question, Travis. What they do now is they work with the sheriff's office dispatch and they have a schedule for a week. What happens if they are on vacation that week, they switch with somebody else, but they're on call for that whole week. So then it would be every 5th week they're on call. Besides Jeff and Joel, those 2 guys are county payroll checks.
Mm-hmm.
The other, India and Steve, Kevin Gertz and India are with the 1099, they are classified as a part-time on call. It might do 3 to 5 a year on average per the 4 we have now. I think Conrad has done 2. probably in 8 months, 2 or 3 in 8 months, so.
And he's on payroll, since he's EMS.
Correct, forgot that. Yes, Conrad is on payroll because he is one of our EMS providers also. What I'm trying to get to you is those 3 that are through a payroll check, we pay them IPERS, no other benefits, FICA. So then India and Gertz would be the only 2 1099. Perfect, thank you for clarifying that. Does that answer your question, Travis? I get your point. I asked that same question to Joe on Thursday. It's like, does it cost anything more to advertise? And maybe we'll get 3 or 4 candidates to apply. If you guys want to move forward with it, just need to know that change on the classification of state of Iowa. We'll do the training. And the dates that you want the applications back to the auditor's office. If there's no motion, we can just keep the 4 we have.
I'll make a motion to advertise for medical examiner, investigator. Have the applications back on January 16th.
4 o'clock, the auditor's office.
4 o'clock, the auditor's office.
I'll second that.
Got a motion from Steve, second by Scott, to advertise for medical examiner investigator, quote, MEI. Applications are due back to the county auditor's office by January 16th, 2026 at 4 p.m. Steve, is it okay to advertise in the county website and the bulletin board?
Yes.
You okay with that, Scott?
Yep.
Any other discussion on the motion on hand? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. You got any public comment today, Donna? Any public comment? All right, 9/10's done. Discuss fiscal year 26-27 budget. So a little bit of a refresh from last week. I think the paper did us good on the coverage. Looks like our levy rate will be at the max levy in general basic of 3.39806, which will still bring in revenue growth of 5.67, which means in general basic, if we trigger it, the max, we also get to then have general supplemental. Talking about general basic, that will bring in about $196,000 of growth, or 5.67 revenue growth. I did look back at general supplemental. We had a levy rate of 1.85. If you stay with that 1.85 with the new evaluation, it will bring in approximately $200,000 of new GS revenue. Just talking strictly property tax. So that's where I said last week, I think general supplemental should, probably, could come down. I don't know. If you leave the levy rates at the 3.39 and the 1.85 with the new evaluations, it would bring in about $400,000 of new tax dollars. That's where we have to do the backward thinking, see the budgets, see if we can indeed lower GS. Our first job in January is to figure out max levies though, right? That's that first publication. Just showing you guys a little bit of a history of where, I mean, 2 numbers are already fixed. GB is fixed, RSV is fixed. GS is not. But since that new RSB levy rate is at 3.39 also, we have never triggered an RSB general supplemental. I know we could if we needed. The RSB is about 5.36 revenue growth, and I think it was about 200 approximately growth in that too in tax dollars. So for today's discussion, I think we need to let the department heads know where we think we should advise budget requests for wages. Remember, we don't control the autonomous boards. We do control the 5 elected officials with our body also, us as a whole, so that'd be 6 elected officials. And then remember, when you do that, it also affects the deputies in those offices at the current 85% for the sheriff, 80% for the auditor and treasurer and recorder, and I think 70% for the second deputy in the auditor's office. I don't know if you guys have done a lot of thinking.
And the only hypers that went up was sheriff's department.
Yeah,
Everything else,
so the IPERS is, I do have that sheet here too,
it's like 0.23.
0.12. Yeah. So the sheriff's office deputies, and I think it probably includes dispatchers. So sheriff and deputy sheriffs. Sorry, the dispatchers are in a protected class. Okay, thank you. Dispatchers did not go up, so it's just the sheriffs and the sheriff deputies went up. That we, the employer, has to move is from 11.965. The new rate July 1st will be at 12.085. And I think it's 0.12% of the increase. But the deputies, besides Zach, are getting a 4% with the union. Just to clarify that union contract. Also, secondary roads union, besides the foreman, engineer staff, the union members are getting a 4% in the secondary roads department too. I think if you guys want your elected officials and department heads to finish their budgets in the next week or two to get them to the auditor's office, I think the last piece of the pie is to give them some kind of guidance. Maybe not where we're gonna be at, but remember, we can always go lower. I'm just sharing you with all the information I know about the property tax levy rates. I will also add that we are at about a 48% ending fund balance in July, almost 6 months ago in GB. I think you guys can see the revenue coming in from interest, other revenue sources, some grants that the department heads are working on. I don't think the fear of money should be a problem this year at all, just because of the evaluation growth and the good job that they brought in for revenue. Inflation's out there. Raises, always a tough discussion amongst us. We all know that. But this body did give a 4% to 2 unions. I will add, I've always added very nicely that a percent, the more you make, the percent gives them more. Maybe it's a year to give $1 an hour. Or I did some math for $1.50 an hour. It might not be pleasing to, like, example, the engineer, the attorney, or the sheriff, but it gets the people that are lower a little bit catch up. I did the math of everybody working 20/80 at $1.50. That equals, just for discussion, that equals everybody getting a $3,120 an hour. Sorry, $3,120 per wage adjustment per year. $1.50 might be high. I also did $1 per hour at a 20/80 work schedule. Any other ideas, discussion? But yeah, Scott's right. The only 9% change is the sheriff deputies. Insurance, I think there was money left in some of those budgets because they never took away that 5% increase last year. And then you gotta ask yourself, if you give $1 or $1.50 or in between or less or more, now we know evaluations, are we still asking the departments then to stay within that 2% growth of overall budgets? This would be the time to discuss that.
Well, I know, the reason I asked the question there was just looking at whether or not we're gonna lower that GS levy rate.
Yep.
Was, based on what we get for wage increases, how much does that increase the benefits? And, with the amount of growth we've had, it's not that big of a fact.
I guess my opinion is I think the department heads need to keep their budgets at 2%.
Okay.
And I guess everybody hates that word trust, but I mean, if that money's in there for things they need, I mean, we can look at it. I guess I'm fine with, I don't care what the department head get as long as they can keep their budgets at 2%.
But remember, we hate to use the word dictate, we have to set
Yeah.
some number for the elected officials, which controls the deputies in those offices, and then all the clerks. Because right now, they could take out, say, all the travel expense and give somebody a 5% or a 10%, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we want to go down that road again. I think we need to give some kind of standard.
Most of them were asking for 3%. I think I'm good with that number. Dave, you asked for what was 4. And if you're lowering your budget, I think that's a good number. And the sheriff, I think he was behind some of the other sheriffs. And so I don't think he's out of line with what he's asking. But otherwise, I'd say it wasn't fair to 3%. That covers more than the cost of living and not going backwards.
So that pretty much covers elected officials. So then, if you can add to that discussion, where would you be then, like with custodian? Where would you be with the engineer staff and the foremans?
Yeah, I would say 3% on those.
3%. So I can have that discussion. I had it with Scott. You should look at what our head custodian's making compared to a deputy in an office.
Well, yeah, maybe he needs to be adjusted.
Well, I agree with a lot of what Steve said, but with all the numbers I ran, the percentage, I was very happy with all the elected officials' presentations. I thought they did great. I like the numbers they came up with. But Jake has intrigued me a little bit with the $1.50, just because of the catch up on some of the people that are a little lower in pay. I know when I was with the city, we would do that every 1 year. We'd do a percentage. The next year we would just do $1 amount, and that just kind of keeps the lower paid people a little bit more in line, keeps them so they don't. Otherwise, they tend to fall way back. So I guess looking at the elected officials and at some of our clerks and custodians and whatever else. I like the idea of $1.50, maybe more so than the 3%. And with the sheriff, I guess that you kind of to the sheriff and the county attorney, the two were I got kind of at a sticking point of. I agree. I feel like Ryan should probably at least get the 4%, just stay pace with his union deputies. And it's hard to argue that Dave has not done a great job with his department and keeping his budget in line and lowering it.
If I can add, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but a 4% on a 20-80 hour work, and I know you work probably more than that. That's why it's hard to figure out the normal work hours. If the 20-80 times the 4% is a $2.60 per hour increase. I didn't do the sheriff, but I guarantee you with a 20-80, I know they use a 20-88 though for the deputies. He'll be at that 250 to 260 also, roughly, approximately.
Sure not. Our office is technically not open 2080.
And that's
Michelle's
why,
work 2080 and no one in the courthouse works 2080.
and that's,
So
yep,
that number's not, it's inflated even more than if that's the direction you're gonna go.
it is. It's more like $1.60 an hour with
Yeah, what I
7
asked
hour
for
work days.
was 4% for myself and Michelle, and $1.50 for her would be roughly a 5% increase.
Cause she's
Because the
overpaid.
hours, yeah.
Yep.
Which is fine,
Yep.
she's every penny she gets, but.
And that's why it's hard to give a percent to everybody when we are trying to get some of the lower ones caught up. I mean, this is public record, so Dave's making $27.58 currently. You have a deputy making $29.41 in an office in the courthouse. So Dave's working 40 hours and the deputy's working 35 hours. Almost $2 an hour more. So percents are tough. You could be all the way from 2 to, what I've been hearing, 2 to 5, 2 to 4. You have anything, Isaac, to add?
No, I like the $1.50 as well to start getting some of these guys caught up, cause yeah,
I mean, and I'll get it out there, $1.50 to us, you got the $31.20 just for math. And I know, and that's what's hard, Dave. Some people are hourly and some are exempt salary, How many hours does the 3 elected in the courthouse work? Do they work their 35 hours or do some work 40 or 45? I don't know that, right? Do you work 35 or 50? I don't know.
It's no week.
That's why.
And on call. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not here. I mean, I'm still gonna come to work, July 1st, regardless of what you do. So, I mean, I look at the numbers compared to some of the other counties that have one full-time attorney who's on call 24/7. I mean, I was gone, everyone knows,
Yeah.
last week and a half, and still do hearings from 2,500 miles away.
I know you
So, I mean,
And you called in here, and that's why it's
So, I
tough.
mean, yeah, and I don't even justify myself,
No.
that's fine. You guys do whatever you wanna do. I'm happy to work here, and I think Ryan probably should get the 4% to stay consistent with his union.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see the clerks, Sheila was here, she'd say it, so I'll say it on her behalf, that's always been a problem. But, then let's address the problem. I mean, to me, if Dave Gorman's pay is lower than some of the deputies in the court's office, then look at his pay and adjust it. I mean, if you see problems, fix them. It's not, maybe across the board, meat cleaver approach across the board is not the right way to fix some of those problems. Maybe you try and meat cleaver some of it and you do a specific scalpel for some of the other ones that need fixed. That's up to you guys. I'm not gonna.
And I don't want to bring up the whole overtime.
or do anything.
Me and Dave did some conversation with Mike Galloway about overtime with some of the deputies, we need to fix that too. It sounds like, I'll go there, right?
Yeah.
So Mike Galloway said to both me and David about overtime for the deputies, this board really should approve that overtime. Because it's higher than the 80% or 70%. Because that's the resolution. And where their elected officer sets that salary at. We should actually approve the overtime then.
And you probably should be approving deputies annually too, in my opinion. You haven't done that for 2.5 years, I think.
So if we did that, because I agree with you, have a yearly appointment, but would that just be, the overtime thing become part of that resolution?
Yes, yeah. And that's the other part. I mean, I think you're exactly right. I mean, it's difficult
It
because
is.
some employees are entitled to overtime and some aren't. And some get comp time and some don't. You know, everyone's job is different, so.
Because Mike's
it's
shared
hard
with,
to-
yeah, Mike shared with me and Dave that he went through it was a federal lawsuit on exempt employees in the county of Iowa. He clarifies that the first deputy is exempt, and probably should not get overtime. The second deputy is not exempt, and they are entitled to overtime only approved by the Board of Supervisors. So that's where we gotta have that discussion in the next month. Because, right, they set that percent though. 85% for the first, second deputy can be a max at 80%. We've been down that road many times up here. So all this stuff, right?
But really, you guys control very little, quite frankly.
The number.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you control the overall budget.
And the
But
number of
I mean,
deputies,
you control the 5 elected officials, which in theory controls the deputies.
to a point.
Yeah,
And that's where they can adjust up to that 85 and 80. We've had that discussion.
and what, Michelle in my office,
It's a clerk,
3 people in the treasurer's office,
yes, and one
and
deputy.
that's it. And the other 80-some% of the county employees are already locked in, right?
Correct.
I mean, at least 80% of the
Yeah.
employees are already locked in.
And I think there's like 12 people.
Yeah, actually,
Yep, no, you're right. So,
but you control the overall number, like Travis says, that's what you control is the overall number.
Travis, anything on the 3 or 4%? And I guess we gotta decide what do we want in our budget too. I think if we do that 5.9, like I thought, I don't know if we can actually stay within that 2%. If you're just gonna throw that out there. Because our budget is very, very thin of just wages and benefits. I mean, unless we cut the publication notices down and hopefully they don't charge us the $30,000. So, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but that's what's in our budget. Anything else? I guess.
I kind of agree with Dave as far as that we don't need to do everything the same. Maybe we do the elected officials at 3 and 4% and then adjust some of these like Dave, custodian, if he's behind where he should be, let's get him caught up.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I think that would probably be better.
So then you guys don't like, I'm just going back to percents again, right? The people that are making 110, 140 are gonna get a 6,000, 5,000 compared to somebody like us with the 4% is gonna make $700. That's the difference from a percent to a hourly rate.
I'm just gonna throw this out there and just as a what if.
Yeah.
What if we did all elected officials at $1.50, except for the sheriff and the county attorney, and give them the 4%? And include the clerks, custodians, at that $1.50 also.
Is that more than 3% for them? Oh,
So $1.52, yep, so the $1.52, if my math is right, at the 2080, the $1.50 for, my percent was a 2.3 for Dave, a 4% for the auditor, treasurer, recorder, that's more than I asked, and then a 2.8 to the sheriff. That was that $1.50 math with the 2080. But Scott's idea is to exempt the attorney and the sheriff and give them their 4%. So pretty much the 4% across the board then. And then we would be, and don't scare this number, but this is why we're lower, $1.50 to us at the 2080 would be an 8.9% to the supervisors. That might scare some people, upset some people. I'm just telling you, that's what the percent I figured. So that would be roughly a $3,120 increase. Remind you all, we didn't get an increase last year, or this body has not got an increase. Remember, it's not about us. A 4% across the 5, so that means a 4%, 4%, 4, and then an 8.9 for us. You know what dollar amount to you, 4% for you, just throw that out there.
Do I know what it is?
Yeah.
It's about 54.13 by my rough math.
So you're currently at 135, 314
Yeah,
times 1.04. You go up to 140,
7.29, yeah.
720, yeah, so minus. So we would get the 3120, where the attorney's gonna get the 5410. So, like I said, it's hard to compare. But he'd be getting the $2.60, and we can debate that whole work hours, but I'm just using 2080 as a general rule of thumb, but. Anybody else like that idea to give 4% to all 5 elected officials?
That's fine with me, but I still think we need to look at some of our,
Through budget work session?
some of our other employees.
So what do you guys, like I said, that 8.9 scares people, and it did to me too, right? But it's a percent, not an hourly rate. You guys want us at 4% too? I don't care. To make it simpler.
Yeah, you know, it's always been my view to not take more for us, but we got 2 up for election next year. And it's not just about me, it's about the whole body. So, I'm okay to get moved up to maybe more competitive numbers.
So is that 4 to 8?
I would,
I'm just throwing out.
yeah, I mean, I guess we start higher and then we get deeper in the budget process, we might have to
And
say.
that's kind of what I'm thinking too, is we have to check, because you already said we gotta look at our 2% on our own, on our supervisor's budget, see what we're gonna do.
Are you okay then with 4% for the 5?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it gets some of them to kind of catch up and where the norm is at. So,
And then I guess where you guys want us then at the $1.50, which equals roughly 8.9, or $1 an hour for the board is a 5.9% increase. So, I'm just throwing out, maybe we should put a 6 in for us, be more like $1 an hour. We can debate it all day long. Part-time, full-time supervisors, committee assignments, phone calls, checking on things, driving to the courthouse.
Well, the $1.50 can come in, let's throw that number in there for now.
So the 8.9%.
Yeah, let's leave that in there, and then we can figure out once we get more.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to throw the research out there too. So it's roughly $1.50.
Yep.
Or a 4% to the auditor, recorder, treasurer, the 4% to the sheriff and the attorney, which is more that range of $2.40 to $2.60 an hour, but we all know they work 24/7. So what I'm hearing as a whole then, a consensus would be a 4% this is for budget work session, not official, always subject to move. But for budget worksheets, a 4% for the 5, and then the 8.9 and the $1.50 for us. And then the guidelines to anybody else would be the 4% also then? And those members, like me, we discussed, it's only about 5 8 people left. So that would be the clerks, custodian, and then the autonomous boards would hear this meeting today. They know the 4% is coming for the elected officials.
Well, I can just say for my department that, I think I put in 4% for both myself and Michelle. So, I mean, even if you said, hey, $1.50 for her, I still think the 4% is sufficient. I mean, she got an extra $1 an hour raise a year ago last August when we lost our assistant. She picked up some extra duties. So
Because I thought-
I submitted my budget at to keep it under the number. Run the math, it'd be an extra, 30 cents an hour.
It would be.
It wouldn't put me above the 2%, but again, I think maybe because I sit up here, I'm able to partake in the discussion the last several years unfairly or rightly or wrongly, but I feel like she has been compensated appropriately, and perhaps there's some clerks in the courthouse that their department heads aren't up here, they don't have a chance to advocate for them like I do.
So for the record, she makes $29.99, with $1.50 would be $31.49. So you're saying give her the $1.50 or leave her
No, I'm
the
saying I
4%?
would still do the 120 an hour, get her to 31, the 4%, same as me.
The 4%.
Yeah.
So
She
she,
did get an extra $1 an hour a year ago last
She did.
August, I think.
She did.
Mid-cycle. And I know that you had this discussion, and maybe we're not gonna have this discussion again, but switching to 40 hours.
that's on my other note.
Okay, well, and I'll just say, I've spoken with her about it, and she doesn't wanna do that. So
I know.
I think she'd be happier taking less pay and sticking at 35 for our office, than she would be taking more pay and going up to the 40 hours.
If she went to the 40
I'll
hours,
just
she
say that
asked
out
it,
there.
so it's 260 more hours a year.
Yep.
And it would give her another $7,800
Right,
at the $29.99 or whatever it was.
right.
And I did all the clerks and the treasurer and the auditor's office
And I
too.
don't know if that's a
Sorry, that's not
discussion
the auditor's
you're
office.
having today, or you're gonna have with your deputies, or you're gonna have at some point, but I'm comfortable with my department remaining at my current hours is what I'm comfortable at in my department. Unless we're picking up extra duties from someone else, by force or by choice, as we sit today, I'm comfortable with where we're at. For my office and my department.
You're making sure all the appointed commission board members get certified.
Yeah, she has that, yeah.
So there's 4 clerks. It's Michelle, and then there's 3 down in the treasurer's office. The budget impact would be about $24,000 because their hourly rate, current hourly rate, would trigger them 5 hours extra a week. So yeah, that is a $24,000 budget impact with those 4 clerks. So
Yeah, I can't speak for the other offices, but I can speak for.
anyway, I think what we needed to get done today was the elected officials and then give some kind of guidance then to the autonomous boards, which would be the public health, county conservation, VA, and then I guess we do serve on the EMA, but that's one person. You guys all good? So if I can recap, we are telling the elected officials to put a 4% for themselves, $1.50 for us, or equivalent to an 8.9 for the supervisors. And then maybe send an email out, I can help you, Donna, to the autonomous boards of a 4% recommendation. But I think we need to look at custodian. When I saw that last week with me and Scott talking, I think it was Friday last week, it shocked me that he's almost $2 less than the deputies. Which he does work a 40-hour work week. Anything else? I do have one request. So Friday, we do have to meet for the annual assignments for the Board of Supervisors, the mileage to per diem, to chair, vice chair, committee assignments, custodian of public buildings. Is 8 o'clock okay if the board secretary gets that scheduled for 8 o'clock start on Friday? Does that work with everybody? I think it's gonna be a very short meeting because we have the Monday to do budgets and non-department budgets, and I expected less than half an hour.
That works for me.
I don't think we have to appoint any this year, first time in a long time. Don't have to appoint any board members to commissions and boards. That's all done. We have 1 or 2 resolutions we have to do. I don't know if it's even gonna take 15, 20 minutes, but
Go back to budgets for a second.
yeah,
Is RC&D gonna meet, or are we just using that letter we got?
I think they're gonna meet.
Okay. I don't know, Steven, it said what their ask was in that letter, but it didn't split it out between Wapsie and, haven't they in the past?
They have another additional fee.
They're all separate.
Okay.
Yeah, Wapsie changed what their ask was last year, but we gave them what we had been giving them,
And then
$600.
the other question was the 2,500 software.
So you guys all got that email about, ISAC is, maybe we need to forward off to the county attorney too, but it was addressed to Sheila. The Community Service Network, CSN, launched in 2010, was used by counties to manage mental health and disability services. In 2014, when MHDS regions were formed. Long story short, at the November ICTS board meeting, the board decided that in fiscal year 27, the software license fee will be a flat fee of $2,500 per county. This flat fee does not limit the numbers of users or entities. CSN is not just for the service listed, but they also do like judiciary advocates, the mental health advocates. So to me, it's a demand from ICTS of $2,500 per county. I'm gonna assume in the past CSS paid this. But now they're asking all 99 counties to pay a flat fee of $2,500 per county beginning July 1st. Because our advocates use it for mental health.
Maybe, I can talk to ours, but that would be used to me because ours has a Howard County email address.
Which is a Howard County employee.
Right.
Yeah, I know. So
We use Zoom, so I'm not
you
sure
can just
what
give
that
this to
service
Dave.
is.
I got another copy if I need one.
I can look into it.
But ISAC sent that to Sheila last week or 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago.
And all it says is it's not a bill at this time, but it says please budget for this.
It seemed like a demand to me.
Yes. Good word. So. Good call.
That was all I had.
Yep, I forgot that one. What else was in my stack here?
We got the claims.
Yeah, we do. I can bring that up in future agenda. Kind of a budget discussion. Just keep an eye on our county betterment fund, because I know that there's gonna be some requests coming in from county conservation. So currently, if the pool cash report that I asked for on the 26th, which would have been last Friday, the community county betterment fund is holding it at $220,000. It brings in about $7,500 a month. So in 6 short months, that fund will be up to $260,000 unless we trigger an ambulance payment. So I think that county betterment fund is an option to potentially help capital project, building a truck, something for the county conservation boards and parks. But that account is growing because we haven't used it a lot. So. Any other budget discussion? Otherwise, 8 o'clock start for Friday. If there's nothing else, claims, prior bill is $1,207.57. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Is there a second?
Sorry.
Motion by Scott, second by Travis to approve prior bill claims in the amount of $1,207.57. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye, any opposed, motion carried. In the short week last week, I have a total of $58,324.99 in claims. Is there a motion to approve?
So. Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Isaac to approve the claims of $58,324.99. Again, I want to thank the auditor's office for getting those collected and ready for payment in this short week. If there's nothing else, motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. And the last thing is payroll dated last Friday, the 26th.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Travis, second by Steve to approve the payroll claims in the book behind us, dated 12/26/25. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Any committee assignments, Travis?
No.
Scott? No. Isaac? No. Steve? Discuss future agenda items. Pretty much meeting on Friday at 8. I do have a text that we probably, if Dave allows us to talk about this. Came in from Chuck Stan. He wants to know if he has the authority to put ice melt down at your parking lot.
We did it this morning, so.
Well, let me read his text then. 9:04.
That's pretty good. Dave Gorman's gonna tear up the.
Could the board call me, reference law office building and putting down saw? It was a glare ice this morning. So that's not part of the removal, because if you remember,
That's.
Who's paying for it?
Not part of,
no, because we
Includes
never,
ice?
no.
there's a ton down in the parking area. It was.
So I bet he's
Both
wondering,
Michelle and I missed the turn to pull in by the way this morning. The road was so damn icy, but, the parking lot was good.
so I'm debating, we could either call him right now, but we really don't have it on the agenda. He's probably wondering who's paying for the,
I think you defer to Dave Gorman for that, and
Okay.
let Dave Gorman figure it out. I mean, I don't know if the parking lot's coming apart in pieces as it is right now, quite frankly. So I don't know if that's gonna eat at the parking lot itself or what, but I think you just defer to Dave to figure that out, and if it's extra, then Bill will figure it out. Unless you guys.
it comes under maintenance, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, it's needed. We don't need public citizens or county staff to fall on the ice. So, just the way he sent that text was.
And he did it this morning, so I'm glad he did.
Otherwise,
The other thing that I had was for your meeting on Friday. Have you seen the master matrix resolution yet? Is that in the
Yes.
file? I haven't
So,
seen it yet, but I
yep.
know it's the same as previous years.
let me look at the email. I know Sheila was working on it and I sent it over to Lisa.
I just want to make sure it gets done, so that's it.
She was putting on the agenda for the second,
Okay,
so it'll be done Friday.
perfect. That's all I had.
Anything else, guys? Just a recap, tomorrow afternoon at 1, we have that consultation meeting with the tax bodies for the urban renewal plan for the amendment number 2. But I will be here for that, so just letting you know that will be going on tomorrow. Otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn?
Gotta move.
Second.
Motion by Isaac, second by Steve to adjourn at 9:49. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, anybody opposed? Motion is carried.